Two-step process. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go down here and let the recording continue. Okay, so first I want to do is I want to thank Franklin Farm Foundation for hosting our meeting. To accommodate Mike, because he had to bring an aunt, a great aunt, to something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, in any case, we moved the meeting from Wednesday to Tuesday, and therefore we lost our secure facility at the Sully District Governmental Center where Supervisor Smith's offices are, and we were hobos. And Lewis found us a place that we were no longer riding the rails. With that in mind, let me ask the people who are on the video to introduce themselves. And I'd like everybody who's on the video to ensure that their name is their name, not iPad so-and-so. And Bob helps us not at least. Bob, if you could identify who you are and change your name to be who you are. We'll start with you. Unmute yourself. All right, he can't. Ellen, let's introduce yourself then. Unmute yourself. No, you can't. Okay, William.
I'm William Lang. I'm a resident of Franklin Farm, and I bought the album by The Who, Tommy, in 1969.
Excellent. Did you see the play?
I did not see the play.
In the 70s. There was a movie in the 70s. Okay, and continue from that. The ladies in the back.
Oh, I'm Jeannie. I'm foundation staff.
I'm Mary, foundation staff.
Okay, we'll start with Mike Cooper, our guest of honor, feature speaker.
Hi, Michael Cooper from Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority. I'm the State and Local Government Affairs Manager for Dulles and Reagan National Airport.
Keith Merlin, resident of Franklin Farm.
Jan Pohl, resident of Franklin Farm.
Hank Cole, resident of Franklin.
We've seen you before. I recognize you. Okay?
Picture in the post office.
No, not that. Not yet. Okay.
That's on mine, both front and profile. Louis Grimm, both a resident of Franklin Farm and also the representative to the Sully District Council and first vice president there.
I'm going to go into the camera. My name's Jeff Parnes. Am I in there? Yeah, I am. Okay. My name's Jeff Parnes. I'm the president of the Sully District Council, the webmaster, and the Land Use and Transportation Committee chair. Multiple hats. I'm glad that all of you could join us and the technology in this facility working perfectly. Thank you so much. It's always good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to share Firefox and share. Okay, so if I do that, you should see tonight's agenda. Can everybody in the audience see tonight's agenda, what I'm sharing? Thumbs up, yes or no, shake your head. I get a shake of the head. All right, a shake is good as a nod, right? That's what I've heard. Okay, so tonight is the 24th March, 2026. That's too many 2026s. Agenda. And remember to be a member of the Sully District Council. Right now, I think Franklin Farm is, and we thank you for that. We still remember Mike Fry. His remembrance services will be in April. I will be out of country, but I encourage people who liked Mike, and he was our Sully supervisor for 26 years. 24, it had to be evenly divisible by 4.
And he was actually the first supervisor for Sully District Council after it was created.
Exactly. So Mike was a good man, a personal friend. All right, so tonight's meeting is here. And if you're on the meeting, you already know that because you've already pushed these buttons. So again, remember everybody to join us. We tweet. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We have a matrix of land use and Sully District membership activities. You can click on the link and get an Excel spreadsheet. We have videos of the 25 February meeting, and we have videos of the 16 February joint Sully District Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting, where we discussed the Dovac Cub Run electrical substation, the emergency department, and county sale. Tonight's presentation is with Mike Cooper, State and Local Government Affairs Manager. I'm going to do a little bit more of this, go back. The Sully District Land Use and Transportation Committee met on the 16th of March, and we have a video that is indicated before of this month, and we voted not to object to the Chick-fil-A. We didn't get the coupons we asked for. We talked about the Skyview High School, and we have this twice here. Again, I got to fix that. And we identified several concerns, and they're going to return to our April meeting to discuss the things. The county, the group approved a resolution to be sent to the Board of Supervisors objecting to the sale. The county did it anyway. And we have walking and biking infrastructure priorities in Sully District. And when we asked people to submit inputs by yesterday, we got a long one by Lewis and others from other people. I will consolidate that. Right now, we're on our 24 March meeting. In April, we're going to hear about the Sentinel Task Force. In May, we have the General Assembly report to delegates, by delegates, senators. And since the session is now over, we're now starting to get people to read their mail and get back to us, which is a good thing. In June, we're going to have the Fairfax Fire, County and Rescue. We're going to try to do a biannual congressional candidates night. It's hard to get congressional candidates to appear in our forums. We're going to try anyway. In October, we're going to talk about homeless services. And then in November, we're going to try to get the congressional reports from Washington by our, that time, reelected congressmen, or new ones, as the case may be. And here's some other items, and I will go over those later. But at this time, I'm going to open the presentation that we have here. And there's the presentation. And the next thing that happens is, all right, Washington's, okay then. So hold on, I want this to be as big as I can. I hate when Microsoft does that for me. Okay, now I'm going to say here, one of these things I can say is presentation mode, right? Yes. And I think, presentation mode. There we go. Okay, so we're now presentation mode, and I'm going to go back. All right, so page down. 2025 pilots. Take it away, Mike.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Jeff and Louis, for your hospitality. Thank you for the Sully District Citizens Association for having me here again. This is not my first meeting with the Sully District Citizens Homeowners Associations, but I am delighted to be joined tonight by not only one of your current residents, but General Keith Parlin, as you know, is President and CEO of the Washington Airports Task Force, a huge supporter of Washington Dulles International Airport, and a former airport manager for Dulles. And so thank you, Keith, for me. I feel well supported with Keith sitting to my right. And I bring you greetings tonight from Richard Golanowski, our current Vice President and Airport Manager for Washington Dulles International Airport. Keith couldn't be, Richard couldn't be with us this evening, but he asked me to share these slides that he has helped prepare. Also, our President and CEO, Jack Potter, and members of his senior leadership team and our board of directors. Thank you, and thanks Sully community for the remarkable support that you always provide for both of our airports, Washington Dulles and Reagan National. And thank you too for the acknowledgement for former Supervisor Fry on your website. That's I know it's a loss for the whole community, so we appreciate that. So on the opening screen, you see our airport, and that is an older picture of the airport, as you can tell. Those who have been to the airport in the last 10 years or so, or 7 years or so, know that we replaced the ball back on top of the historic tower. I was there this morning, and if you drive up there, that iconic view is still readily available. Yes, our 2025 highlights and going into 2026. I wanted to share, you can go next slide. I'm sorry. I wanted to share that 2024, 2025 were record years all over for both of our airports. Our airport served over 54 million passengers in 2025. Dulles set a new record with 29.01 million. DCA had previously set a new record in 2024 with 26.29 passengers. So both of our airports are charging, moving forward. As you know, there is some decline at DC DCA in 2025, mostly attributable to certainly the unfortunate events of January 29th last year, and the subsequent government shutdown, all of which have an impact on travel in our region. Next slide. So Dulles is America's fastest growing hub airport. And so this slide really kind of shows how our airports compare to our peers. The chart compares the performance of Reagan National and Dulles International to other large hub peer airports. And it represents the percent year over year in total change of passengers for the first 9 months of 2025 compared to 2024. The 30 largest airports in America are ranked on this chart from left to right by fastest growing. And for the early first 3 months of 2025, Dulles International passengers increased 8%, which makes it America's fastest growing largest airport. This growth can be attributed to United Airlines' continued domestic and international expansion of its Dulles hub, for which we're very, very grateful for United for their support, and record growth from low-cost carriers serving Dulles, such as Allegiant Air and Frontier Airlines, and the many new and expanded international services secured in 2025 from a variety of our international partner airlines. During the same period, passenger levels, as I mentioned, decreased at Reagan National by 5.2% for the reasons we mentioned earlier. Our neighbor to the north in Baltimore, BWI, has experienced a 7.5% decrease in passengers in the same time period, resulting in declines in capacity by their 2 largest carriers, Southwest and Spirit Airlines, and exits from the BWI market from Air Canada, Allegiant, Condor, and JetBlue. And this has led BWI during the same period to become America's 3rd fastest shrinking large hub airport. It should be, not that it's a competition, but we always, but it is. Watch our region. And having grown up in Maryland, I don't share that news with any particular joy. It should be noted, born in Philly, by the way, it should be noted that the total U.S. passengers levels for the first 9 months of 2025 decreased 1.4%, which is an indicator that the robust industry-wide growth of the past that we've gotten used to and continued and enjoyed previously is not the norm.
So I've always believed that one of the reasons that Maryland doesn't want an interconnection between Fairfax or Loudoun and Montgomery County outside the Beltway is that so many people from Montgomery County would go to Dulles, which would be the closest airport that they could use rather than driving the 30 miles around up to a BWI. That if Montgomery County could come here without having to go all the way down to the Beltway and back, they'd come to Dulles. But I'm biased.
Well, I would defer to our good friends on our board of directors who represent the great state of Maryland. I think 3 of our board members represent Maryland, and would encourage you to chat with them and see if they concur. But I appreciate that observation.
Transportation related, you go where it's closest, and what's closer, you go there. Just like whenever my daughter flies out of New York, she flies out of Newark because it's the fastest, closest, and mass transit capable airport to downtown. And with that, next.
Thank you, Jeff. Next slide. So, so where are we today? So I started off this morning, as I say, glad to be with you tonight. I started off this morning at Dulles. At 8:40 this morning, a new air service from Dulles to Lynchburg started this morning. It was a United Airlines flight run by SkyWest, started today. And I will share with you, it's a very exciting little connection for all of the Commonwealth. We started, I can remember being with the members of the Lynchburg community and their mayor and members of their city council probably 6 or 7 years ago with United representatives and talking about this very flight. And it had its inaugural flight this morning. It leaves at 8:40 from Dulles each day, flies to Lynchburg, flies then to Chicago, returns to Lynchburg, and at 7 o'clock in the evening comes from Lynchburg back to Dulles. I share that with you because it takes a long time to get this kind of air service, both for small routes and large routes. It takes years of planning, and it can be lost in a minute if we don't protect what we have. And the protection of what we have rests very heavily on the Sully District in Fairfax County and our neighbors to the north in Loudoun County. Protecting the area around the airport is how you keep air service growing. And anything short of that is how you cause airport service to become concerned about whether there's a hospitable environment to bring a flight to. So we're looking forward to our new international service to Seoul on April 24th and next. We also are very much looking forward to nonstop service to Taipei, Taiwan in June 26th. This is another route that we've been working on for some time. Taiwan is very, very excited about this route. I can share with you that the ambassador for Taiwan was, I'm just back from the Virginia General Assembly session in Richmond. It was for the last 2.5 months. And 2 weeks ago, he was introduced, the ambassador was introduced in the Senate chamber, Virginia Senate chamber, the ambassador of Taiwan. And first words out of his mouth when we conversed later after the introduction was, we're looking forward to June 26th. So I know that this is a strong commitment from Taipei, and we're looking forward to latching on to our newest international partner. Next slide. So this is a slide basically from probably December of 2025. It may have changed a little bit. Well, it did change because Lynchburg was one of United's future connections, and it started today. So you see those local connections from United to some regional airports around our area on the lower left. You'll see the new service dates coming up. Service to Myrtle Beach is coming up. Halifax in Canada, May 23rd, and Quebec City the same day, May 23rd. I mentioned Ava Air and Taipei. Also, new air service for 2026 is another route to Los Angeles in April. Air Premia, I mentioned the Seoul connection, and Air Canada will begin again in June, and will begin on June 1st.
Yeah, quick about that. All the larger airlines on the right side, those are all nonstop flights.
I will check that for you.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I know the Taipei and Seoul probably are. American should be a nonstop.
Yeah.
Air Canada should be. And I'd also kind of as a final comment note to second of your new regional services to Clarksburg, West Virginia, which is my hometown.
And part of that was as a thank you for the use of the room tonight.
We weren't supposed to talk about it.
We next slide.
I do get a discount on the first one.
So a lot of people in your community are interested in other transportation modes as well, and how they get to and from the airport. So we just wanted to include a little slide that kind of shows bus ridership figures. This is all buses combined that operate at Dulles. And we see a real growth in the use of ride apps and Uber and Lyft, and year-over-year growth of 11% in bus ridership. And at the same time, as you know, the Silver Line is the most heavily traveled, Silver Line to Dulles is the most heavily traveled route, of course, and which is exactly what we were expecting all And we're very, very confident it will continue to grow, and we're very, very happy with the millions of passengers that have used that connectivity once we were able to get phase two up and going. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, with ride apps, when people say they're equivalent to a taxi, but a taxi, it's Hobson's choice. You show up, that taxi is the next taxi, you take that taxi. A ride hail, if there are 20 people exiting the plane and they all have ride hail, you've got to find your ride hail. How do you handle the fact that you're just not getting the next Uber, you're getting your Uber? How do you manage that connectivity of interlacing?
So if you've been, next time you go to Dulles Airport, you're gonna notice there are dedicated lanes now for TNCs, Transportation Network Companies. So they have a gathering area and a way to circulate near the airport. And then there's a dedicated area where the passenger and the TNC are connected through the app to say, stand here. And the passenger stands there, and the TNC comes by them. And I will say that that same kind of configuration is something that we're going to be seeing some expansion with at some point when autonomous vehicles like Waymo come to Virginia. I will say during the General Assembly this year, autonomous vehicle legislation was introduced. It did not pass in Virginia, but Waymo is very clearly rolling out in San Francisco, Phoenix, and others. And one of their target markets is certainly Washington, D.C. And we know, and it's become very apparent that anyone who picks up a Waymo in Washington, D.C. and is flying out for an international connection, they're not stopping at the Potomac River. They're coming into Virginia. They're coming to Washington Dulles. They're coming to Reagan National, and we need to be prepared. So we're going to work this summer with the autonomous vehicle work group that the General Assembly set up. And I hope a number of airports around the Commonwealth will be represented at that endeavor. And we're going to try to find ways to make sure that we have the same.
So in the same situation, he said, if we have an autonomous vehicle, the autonomous vehicle could leave here to go back to where it came from. Or it could hang around thinking it might get a next ride. It'd be like when I drove a taxi in New York City and went to let's say LaGuardia or Kennedy Airport, I had a debate, was it worth going back empty from the airport or biding my time in the queue in the taxi holding area to get another ride? Now, an autonomous vehicle, if it can't pick up in the state of Virginia, but can only drop off somebody, will obviously have to go back to get somebody. But if they can pick up at the airport once they've dropped somebody off, then it pays for that machine to stay for the next call.
Which leads into a question I had about that. My understanding for a long time, the only people you could leave the airport from in a ride were the Washington Flyer.
That's correct.
I guess they agreed to operate and collaborate with the rideshare operator.
Both of these observations and questions are all beyond our ability to yet figure out how operationally it's going to go. This is part of the work group that the legislature set up, right? So currently, if DC approves Waymo in DC, that does not mean that they can come to Dulles. That means they need to stop at the Potomac River. Now, that said, we all know that sometimes we've had experience with the TNCs before they became legal in the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of us knew that they were operating. So all of us being collectively as a community, we all knew. What we're recognizing is now is the time to plan for and try to accommodate what we know is coming down the pike. And that said, Jeff, I have no idea how operationally it's going to.
I have a larger question, which is just traffic flow at the airport. Because you're going to be increasing volume. You've got personal drivers, you've got taxis, you've got Lyft, Uber, and Waymo. You've got buses. It's like, what's the plan for the land side for better flow? Because whenever we're there, it's challenging.
I think you.
That's the polite way.
You're probably already aware that Dulles has instituted a master plan to carry forward, which includes a number of roadway improvements in and around, on and around the airport. And what I'm trying to articulate at this point is that if we know that the state is going to approve new operational capacity for technologies like autonomous vehicles, to your point, and yours, it is incumbent upon us not to rest on our laurels and wait till that happens before we start planning. How do we address those very questions? And so if the state approves that they can operate in the Commonwealth, they're going to be operating.
Even if they don't get approved, you currently have a traffic flow problem. So how's that being addressed today?
So as I said, when was the last time you were at the airport?
A couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you recognize that particularly at peak hours, there are some areas of congestion in and around our airport. And part of the master plan that we just approved is including a number of roadway improvements to relax some of that congestion and to accommodate the future growth that we know is coming. So it's a separate presentation.
Is that available someplace?
Yeah, oh yeah, check our website and I'll.
Send us a link, okay?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm curious.
One of the things I know is that when you allow a human being to drive, the human being can say, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. So a Lyft driver and an Uber driver can say, no, I'm not supposed to be at Dulles Airport. I'm just gonna hide the sign that says Uber and Lyft and drive and drop a person off. You can't tell me that I'm otherwise. But a Waymo, an autonomous vehicle, has in its computer what they're allowed and not to do. And they theoretically, if it's not allowed to leave the state of the District of Columbia, should take a ride that would take them outside the area that they were legally allowed to operate, because they're supposed to follow all the rules of the road, more so than a Lyft or Uber driver.
Theoretically.
I understand. So my point being is that they're less likely to violate the law because it's programmed in theoretically. But the same question I have for you is, have we noticed what percentage decrease have we noticed from the Dulles taxi, the Dulles Flyers vis-a-vis the Ubers? Has the total gone up more than the decrease and increase? So I mean, if fewer people are taking the Dulles Flyer and more people are taking the ride apps, is that total bigger than just the Dulles Flyers numbers?
I have to get that information.
You see what I'm saying? Okay, got you. And when I drop off my kids occasionally, the sign says, use both ramps. So we drop off our kids at the arrivals location if in fact the line is shorter and the kids run up to take care of it. Question is, would a Waymo know that? Could it read the sign and figure that out? So I don't know, but these are all things you have to look at. So I'm gonna go to the next slide because we've exhausted this. And us transportation guys and gals ask questions. Okay.
These metro figures are probably through November of 2025, but basically it talks about the year-over-year increase that I had just mentioned earlier. And we're very happy for the Silver Line success in the region. Next.
Let more people get on than get off. That's kind of an interesting statistic. You'd think they'd be even Steven.
Well,
Not sure.
theoretically, they would be, but, you know, if it was a typical station, it might, but I think because of the origin destination of the potential passengers, you say, well, how easy is it if you're coming into Washington, you say, oh, I can go across here and get right downtown. That's nice, easy to do. Or down to Tyson, wherever you're staying. Whereas the exit saying, oh, now I gotta go all the way out there with all the multiple stops. So I want to do that, I don't want to get a
So
lift or an Uber.
is the metro exits the ones who are getting off at the station, and the metro entry is the ones who are getting on at the station?
Yes,
Yeah.
Just,
that is my presumption. This is Richard's slide, and that's my presumption.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's a standard terminology that's applied for transit.
So a little bit about some of our energy savings efforts, and there's really lots to say here, but just wanted to let you know that there is a sustained commitment to improving energy conservation throughout the airport, and it's been ongoing for many years. This particular project is one that's a little bit more noticeable. The LED light replacement at the right in front of the airport at the hourly lot there. So Richard wanted to include that here. There's a whole set of reports that are also on our website of the sustainability efforts that we've been engaged in for many years at the airport, recycling and all that combined effort. It's not only smart to do, it also saves us all money. And so we're going to have a later slide with some information of economic impact from the Virginia Aviation, but Richard wanted me to communicate with you that, you know, we're continuing to see new companies coming to the airport. So there were 699 companies represented by all those different employee populations, tenants, other aviation service companies, et cetera, in 2024. Now there are 724 companies in 2025, and the number of employees that are on airport has increased commensurately. And we will expect that will continue for some time. Next slide. So looking at next slide, 2026 and beyond, we are extraordinarily excited for the Concourse East Phase 1 opening later this year. If any of you have flown United, or those of you who fly United frequently and take the Aero train coming to our airport, you will now be satisfied by September to know that when you come up from the Aero train, you will be in a concourse, not a 1,000-foot walk back to the old concourse. When we were building the Aero train, we knew where this new concourse was going to be, and we took it on the chin for the last couple of years. Longer than a couple of years. Hearing our passengers say, why do we have this 1,000-foot walk back? We had this 1,000-foot walk back to the old concourse because United wasn't ready to give up that old concourse and put it where the new one needed to be. Now United is, and we are extraordinarily happy for the 14 new gates that United will be bringing to Concourse E in that opening in September 26th, with the direct link to the Aero train. And I, knock on wood, I'm very grateful to each of the workers who have been very diligent about worker safety on site, and no impacts to operations during this construction. So we're very pleased about that.
So that means F is no longer physically connected to E. It used to be that you could get off at E and then walk to F. But now it looks like F is still where it used to be, or
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
A, B, C, D, E, and F. If you got off at F and had to walk back, and you walked in the opposite direction, you can get to the F concourse from the E concourse. You went over a little bridge, but they were, so my question is, if you're opening E as a separate new concourse, F is no longer connected to E?
Well, we have a later slide. that
Okay,
kinda
got it.
shows
All
where
right, you see what I'm saying?
the-
All right, so, hello, is there anybody on our system who has a question? And if not, can you mute yourself in the meantime? We hear a background noise. Thank you.
So the Concourse E today, the C station will become the E station, basically. So this is what the construction looks like today. Next slide, exteriorly. And this is what the concourse will look like interiorly, very vibrant, very light, much like the International Departures Concourse that you're familiar with at Dulles. And next slide, which this kind of shows the where the walkback tunnel is being replaced by the E station itself. You see still the J loop there of the aero train. One day that will be completed by a complete connection all around, and in the Dulles master plan that was recently approved, the E station continues westward.
Oh, so you're saying there was no E and F, these are brand new ones?
E station is a brand new.
Okay, so there was only A, B, C, D, and no E, F. I was hallucinating, I must have been using AI, but came up with the F. Okay, never mind. Good.
Are all the existing stations shown, or is there a station for Concourse C? An underground rail station?
No, you still have to walk back.
So the way you used to get to Concourse C was to come to where it's labeled E station and walk back 1,000 feet,
Right.
right? And so that concourse C and D is due to come down at some point. It is not coming down right now. It's going to be around for a while.
Right.
It was built as a temporary.
Okay, but is there a underground rail connection to concourses C and D today that will continue? With the opening.
I know that off the top of my head, but
You just walk back to what you did.
No, there are no new stations being constructed right now.
Right,
When you went to C before, the only station that serves C and D is the one for C, because the J, it doesn't go beyond B. So you got off where this yellow circle is, it says E station. That was the C station. And you walked back and you came up into C. Follow me?
yep,
So the not the dotted line, but the tighter dotted line is the same walk back that existed before exists today.
okay.
We didn't, I'm sorry, Mike. MWA renamed the C station E station because it's directly underneath the permanent midfield, which is the one that will get expanding across as it moves westward.
Mhm.
It'll move right down all the way to F. And then eventually, the temporary buildings that were built ages ago from the old existing hard stand when the airplanes used to parallel park, C and D, that eventually will come down.
So is the station going to be E/C?
No, it'll be E.
So how will
There'll
people
be-
get into C?
There will be tons of signage. In fact, I just took a tour of the facility Thursday. And there will be tons of signage there that will capture people getting off the train that says E gates this way, C gates this way. And halfway through the tunnel as it goes down, not halfway, but periodically throughout, if you're going to E, turn around.
You're not going to the right place.
They've got very creative signage that they're working at because that is going to be a confusing point.
But what's not shown here, of course, is the aero train is only one way to get to and from various concourses.
Right.
We still have the people movers.
Right.
And for the time being, they're still in operation and they're still doing a very effective job. So And that's how you get to Concourse CD.
Now, it looked like on the top of Concourse E, there was a walkway to Customs sterile corridor. In the past, when I did park, took out off the plane, I was put on a people mover
Mhm.
and directly to Customs control without touching the hoi polloi. So if you have a walkway to Customs, how are the people going, are they gonna be in a special train? How do they get, or are they gonna go to the mobile lounge docks for the international arrivals people? I mean,
So this is all a work in progress. And when it's fully built out, I know it all makes sense. And in the interim, there's going to be new facilities that will keep international arrivals segregated from the domestic. And we're just gonna have to live with a temporary situation
I mean,
until.
I'm gonna be traveling on United coming back, as I always do, and so it'll be just interesting to know how they segregate the.
I know one thing, it'll be better than what it is today.
Okay. They'll have pardon me again.
Sure.
They will have, if you come in, like Michael said earlier, you've got 7 wide body, 14 narrow body gates there. If you come into United, and United hasn't set up their plan yet as to who they're gonna use, what they're gonna use for this terminal. But if International comes to that terminal, they will have to segregate. You will go on those sterile corridors down to the far east end where there are mobile lounge docks, and you will separate.
The ones over here.
Right, over at that end, see mobile lounge docks marked there. And you will board lounges, and just as you do in the midfield existing, if you are connecting to another United flight, you will take a mobile lounge over to the midfield United Processing Center to do customs there. If you're coming to DC, then the lounge will take you into the main FIS. And the next section of concourse that'll be built, as soon as this one opens September 30th, they'll start building the next one. And that section will have a in-transit FIS office there. So that will handle still, if you're coming to Dulles, you'll go back to the main.
Okay. And so I'm gonna move forward to the next, this is Concourse AB, closest to the main terminal. You see that there are 6 state international gates that'll be opening later this year as well, at the end of that Concourse AB. So that's the construction that's been going on behind those walls that you've been seeing in AB for some time. Please go to the next slide and the next slide. So moving forward, folks are aware that there's great interest in improving Dulles even above and beyond what we have envisioned in our master plan. It's important to recognize that when we develop these master plans, we do it in concert with our airline partners, with their best estimates at this time of what they think they're going to be bringing in this case, between now and 2038, what passenger loads are going to be bringing in between now and 2038 and beyond. So we plan for that, we construct and build what they need. We make some financial commitments, contractual commitments to them that we're going to make these improvements, and they make contractual commitments to us that they're going to bring these passenger levels to Dulles. So we're in a growth mode, and above and beyond that, there's been a great interest in maybe doing some different things that hadn't been considered before or were considered, and for cost considerations, we're not doing it this time. And so we're in a period right now where that kind of discussion is ongoing with our federal partners, certainly with our airline partners, and our president and CEO is managing that process very, very effectively. And next slide. And as we continue to modernize Dulles, we're taking the approach that there's no monopoly here on good ideas, right? Everyone at this table, everyone all over has an opinion and has an idea about how things can be improved. And if anyone is coming to the table with a commitment to build the best airport in the United States, we're all ears. So with that, I'll shift back to one project that'll be coming online in May of 2026. It's been going on for a couple of years. I shared earlier, there were some longstanding commitments to sustainability that we've been making at our airports for quite some time. Dominion Energy has a solar project that is squeezed in between our east-west runway and our future east-west runway. It's the largest solar farm in the nation at an airport. It'll generate enough energy to heat 37,000 homes. That generation of energy goes directly into the public grid. It does not go into the airport. We don't get any our energy. We are a customer of Dominion, just like everybody else on the grid. And but there's going to be a lot of growth coming in Northern Virginia for new housing and that sort of thing. And Dominion has made a commitment to create alternate sources of energy to accommodate some of that growth.
Where's the new data center that the land just got sold for on that map?
It's about where my finger
Yeah,
is.
that's what I was guessing, but I wasn't sure. Okay. 'Cause that's Route 50 down at the very bottom.
Oh, 50 is here,
It's
and it's
that
diagonally off.
little left, lower left corner.
Yep.
Yeah,
And there's
right
the
there.
quarry as well.
Right. So, anyway, next slide.
Yeah, well, I want to go back a couple of slides.
Yes, sir.
So I understand that they are planning to build a supplemental terminal because the current terminal has space constraints. And when I look at this picture, like a wing, a swept wing fighter or something like that, it hides what is Dulles' claim to fame, which is, of course, pi. Is it pi or p?
It was Saturn and.
This piece here, right?
Jeff, can you go back to the slide that you were just at? Because I want to, so please ask your question and then allow me to answer for just a second.
Okay, so here we go. So when I look at these, I can see what they're doing, basically taking away the current parking lot in front of that building and allowing people to be dropped off at this new terminal, either this place or this place, rather than the old place. But for a long time, living in Northern Virginia for 45 years, people will lose that first impression that they know what Dulles looks like, and they'll see this other thing. Now, it might be better, but it will be a heart-rendering decision. And I just make that statement.
So Jeff, here's what I would say. I wouldn't spend a lot of emotional energy on either of these slides. These are renderings that other entities other than the airport authority conceptualize and have begun to put out in the ether. Whether or not they have a forward-facing future,
Wings to fly.
we don't know. But these are, we do know that DOT has requested information through an RFI to revitalize Dulles. And that process, as it unfolds, is being led by the U.S. Department of Transportation, and we're a collaborative partner. And any best ideas that can be incorporated, we're all ears.
And when you say Department of Transportation, is that the office of the secretary with or without any involvement by the Federal Aviation Administration or the Federal Highway Administration or the Federal Transit Administration? Question mark.
So you and I would both presume that if the federal government is going to lead an initiative that requires interagency collaboration, that the federal government will establish a parameter for that collaboration to occur. And I can't speak for the DOT RFI process. What I do want to say is that we know we're in the middle of this process, and ideas that have merit and can be ably built into what is conceived to be the best airport in the country in the future, we're all ears. We'll see how it all plays out, but I'm sure that each of the federal partners that you have just articulated, just spoken about, are entities that I would imagine the federal government, U.S. Department of Transportation recognizes that they need to collaborate with. And of course, FAA is part of
That
DOT.
is true, but I think personal suggestion to you, even though I'm a federal employee, I would suggest that you emphasize whoever is the lead on this DOT RFI process. I would put money on the table right now. It's somebody in the office of the Secretary of Transportation. I would suggest that you in your position, make it very clear that you want that broad spectrum of all the entities involved in moving people and in moving aircraft involved in that process. My concern, from what I've seen for the last couple of years, is that there are people at senior levels in the current administration who really do not understand what is involved with their agency operations, up to and including the Office of the Secretary of Transportation.
Nor do they care.
Appreciate your guidance and we'll bring that point forward. Thank you.
I'm not a federal employee, and I'm just looking at how things go off without fully vetting ideas, designs, impacts.
Boy.
So I'm not disagreeing, but I'm not saying that. That the fact remains that there needs to be a more comprehensive vetting process than just hey, let's issue an RFI and let's just see what people have brilliant ideas. Speaking as somebody trained as an architect, it's really easy to come up with great, beautiful renderings. It's a whole different story about executing the plan, both operationally as well as design-wise. And for something as complex as an airport that needs to stay fully operational, it's an exceptional challenge.
And with that, we're going to turn to celebrating America's 250th anniversary. There'll be a lot of celebration. Thank you for that input. By the way, I recognize and hear what you're saying. I do also want to recognize that there's lots to celebrate this year, and we're going to be part of that celebration. So you're going to see both of our airports pretty actively involved in the celebration of America's 250th anniversary. Some of our founding documents took off just 2 weeks ago from Reagan National to fly to points around the country where communities who may not have ever, folks in communities who may not have ever had the chance to visit the Smithsonian could visit with those founding documents in a flight that helps celebrate our 250th anniversary and brings communities together. And we were very proud to be a airport where that flight took off from and kicking off our celebrations. There was also some connectivity with our airports and Virginia's 250th celebrations. One of the leaders of the General Assembly's effort to celebrate America's founding history is Delegate Terry Austin from out in the Roanoke area, and he is a big supporter of both of our airports and all the airports around the Commonwealth, all 66 of us. Which brings us to the next slide, where those 66 airports were examined for economic impact by the Virginia Department of Aviation. We will be doing our own study for economic impacts just on Washington Dulles and Reagan National in the tri-state area. But just the Virginia area of economic impact is was released in that website there by the Department of Aviation. And collectively of the 66 public use airports in the Commonwealth, on-airport impacts generated the jobs, wages, and outputs that you see on the bottom left of the screen. Obviously, our two airports were big drivers of much of that, and we look forward to continuing to collaborate with our other airport partners around the Commonwealth and driving economic activity for in every community. When they're successful, we're successful. And when we're successful, they're successful too. So we see it as an important link between us and all the public use airports in Virginia.
So Mike, I have a question. What happens with Manassas?
Well, Manassas is trying to attract.
Is that going to
commercial
fall
air
under,
service.
is that going to fall under your umbrella, or is that going to be set one of these?
Manassas is Manassas. It's its own airport, and they are trying to attract new commercial service, and we certainly wish them well in that endeavor.
Sure.
And, they've been working hard at it, and we'll see what happens with that.
Does Leesburg have its own commercial service, or is that still a private airport?
That's
I believe
general.
Leesburg
It's generally.
General aviation, which is, that includes commercial, when you say general?
No. It,
Next year.
no, you might have some corporate aircraft
Right.
moving in and out there,
Okay.
but no.
Not like Manassas is going for
It's going to
scheduled
commercial
service.
service.
Leesburg does not have scheduled service.
Correct. And of the 66 public use airports in Virginia, we are 2 of 9 commercial service airports. Manassas would be the 10th. But currently Manassas is one of the general aviation airports.
Okay, but here's the 9, and if Manassas makes it, it'll be the 10th line.
Right. And Airports is building the terminal down there for them. And they'll have 6 gates on that. And the service, the airport manager has not announced the service yet, who the carriers will be. But they've got some candidates. You can imagine that it'll be low cost, ultra low cost carriers heading to vacation spots, which will be a nice augment to what we provided at Dulles and Reagan.
Well, for example, my brother and sister-in-law who live out in Plainview, New York, normally leave from the major New York City airports, but occasionally they'll leave from Iceland
Right.
and get the low-cost planes that go to Florida and places like that.
Yeah, but Iceland also has had service to BWI and other things.
Well, in fact,
So,
coming
so
back
it
from
was
the
doing
beach.
different things, because I used to have a client in Long Island, and I would fly out of BWI, because it was easier than trying to drive from LaGuardia to the
in
client.
fact, because of the bad weather they had last week and planes were delayed, they flew from Miami to BWI and then to Iceland. They were able to go from Iceland to Florida. And so that's it then, is what you're saying.
And I thank you.
Okay, so I am going to ask if there are people, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to ask Steve or William or anybody else who would like to ask questions. I'm sorry, I didn't answer questions. I don't see that there was a chat grouping, raised hand, no skin tone, reactions, chat. I don't see anybody. So I'm going to ask first William, and then I'll ask Steve next if you have any comments.
Well, I just had a question, and that is future runway development. I understand the 4th runway is under construction, and there's plans in the future for a 5th, which would be a 2nd east-west runway. So the concern obviously is aircraft noise. So the question is, what additional information might you have that you could share with us?
Well, I would share with you that to the best of my knowledge, the 4th runway is fully constructed. But perhaps what you're referring to is the there will be some reconstruction of both runway one right and one center over the next couple of years. This is a typical maintenance function that all airports have to go through periodically, and it's something that we work very closely with the FAA on, and obviously because it will mean that planes that are flying onto a runway that's under maintenance will have to fly to a different runway. And so what I would share with you in Sully District is we have 3 north-south runways and 1 east-west runway.
All right.
The 5th runway that's being built is an east-west runway, which means that it won't be flying, I won't say it won't be flying over Sully, but what I'm saying is that the arrivals and departures will be occurring north of Sully.
Wait, with the additional east-west runway?
When it is built, which is quite ways in the future yet,
Right.
the east-west runway arrivals and departures occur above, occur north of where Sully, the Sully communities are. The runways that you want to be most concerned about are the 3, in terms of noise, are the 3 north-south runways. And those fly directly over Sully. So when 119, which is on the right, and 1 center, which is in the middle, are under maintenance,
Right.
they'll have to divert to either 1 left or another runway that's not under maintenance. And those diversions there are approved flight paths around those runways, as you know, that are used currently. But when those diversions occur, they'll be used more frequently. And there will be people who have moved to the area, particularly recently, will be experiencing the flight paths that have been there forever, maybe for the first time with the frequencies that'll be occurring. So the reality is we live in an area where those 4 runways at Dulles and the main runway at DCA are in continuous use. And our job as an airport is to provide our localities with the best information we have about where we expect those flights to occur and with what frequencies, and the localities have to do the land use planning that keeps people out of the way of noise.
Totally agree with you on that statement. I'd go one step further and say it's our understanding, I've not seen the document myself, but our understanding is that there are more updated aircraft noise contours that have been developed that would shift some of the approval processes that the Fairfax County government has been going through the last 5 to 7 years using the older contour maps. I would say also that we on the Sully District Council have raised this issue with the Planning Commission, with our Board of Supervisors representative, time and time and time again. And they're always saying, oh, no, the old maps are still good. And we argue, no, they are not. If you follow that logic, that would say that you don't need to look at current year traffic congestion. You can go back 5 or 10 years and say, that's all we have to contend with. It's the same rational or irrational decision.
So I would share with you that we've always been appreciative to the Sully community for their advocacy that when we develop those contours, they are the best science that's available, where we know where the flights are going to go, based on where the airlines are telling us, how the airlines are telling us that they are going to build out over the next years. And we provided that information, and it's the best scientific information that we know of at this time. And we appreciate that this organization and others have been advocates for us and with us to encourage folks to respect that science.
Yeah. On this topic here of east-west runways, on this map that I have here, the east-west runway, which I believe always lands westbound and takes off westbound, extends, if you would look at this runway, it is the reason why the McLaurin Square Shopping Center is there and not residential, because it's right underneath the approach to the airport. And so going east of that east-west runway, you come on McLaurin Road, you go to the shopping center, you go to the townhouses that form the L around the shopping center, and then you get into the Chantilly Highlands community, and then the houses south of West Docks, west of the Parkway.
East of the parkway.
Well, west.
Well, west of it.
Okay. So those are the houses that take the brunt of the ones off of Cobra, Jenny Magnesi, whatever those names are up there. And I always think that I'd be held to pay if mine, I had it as a second grader, it's spelled Taylor Mackenzie Road. I'd never be able to pass second grade. But in any case, those are the houses that hear the most of the traffic when it's landing and using the east-west runway. I can wave to the people who are landing, because my house is 2 houses away from the shopping center, and they're right over the shopping center, so I can see them and wave from the windows. But my point being is that if and when they build the second east-west runway, and what is it, a half mile away, a third of a mile away from the, how far away would you say the distance between this and this?
It's a full mile, right?
It's closer than that.
7%.
It's a separation, similar to separation that you have on the upper two.
Okay, so my point being is, next time you're driving down Centerville Road, clock in your mind where McLaurin Road clicks off Centerville Road, measure 3/4 of a mile for grins, that's where the second east-west runway will come east of
Over Sully.
Sully, well,
Sully
Centerville Road.
Plantation.
So, well, off of Sully Plantation, off of Sully Road. So if you want to know where that next east-west runway will be, clock 3/4 of a mile south of McLaurin Road in Centerville, and that'll give you a rough figure of speech, okay? And right over the middle school, right over the Sully Plantation.
Just a little bit south.
Okay, but it's not there now. You can't see it. You've been forewarned.
Well, beyond that, not only forewarned, but then your projections of future aircraft operations, aircraft type, and the noise contours associated with them should assume completion of that 5th runway.
And do.
And do.
Mm-hmm.
And always have.
And always have. And you start looking at that and you say, okay, well, here's what the scientific factual information says. Why don't you, the county, recognize this? Because they do recognize it for water resources on developments. They do recognize it for vehicular traffic resources and impacts, but they don't do it for the noise.
Yeah. I would close this conversation by just suggesting that, or reminding us that why was there any change in contours lines anyway? If we all look out to full build out of all 5 runways, why did we need a different map in 2019 that we had developed and that the county had adopted earlier, their earlier map? And the difference is, if we can go back to that slide showing Dulles Airport runways again, what had occurred in the meantime is somewhere around, and I think you would recall this, somewhere around 2017, if I recall correctly, FAA decided to implement triple simultaneous arrivals and departures in all weather conditions.
Correct.
Nationally, for any airport that has 3 consecutive runways
Mhm.
as Dulles does. So Dulles being one of the airports that was affected by that change in FAA approach and policy, which was part of NextGen at the time. We thought it would be important to see and model what that effective change would do, if it does anything at all, to the noise contours. We found that, to your point, it did show a different shape for the noise contours with triple simultaneous arrivals and departures in all weather conditions than the previous assumptions of when the airport built, which was triple simultaneous arrivals and departures could occur, but not in all weather conditions. So there has been a change in FAA policy, the way that they're using the airspace. Our job as an airport was to work with our partners, Loudon and Fairfax, to model that change, which we did very effectively. And then when we develop the contours, it's up to the local government what they want to do with the contours we've developed. And your point is recognized that at this moment in time, Fairfax still recognizes only the earlier contours.
Whereas Loudon recognizes the more recently developed
That's right.
contours.
You are
But
correct.
still allowed development to happen, especially during the time of pandemic, where people moved into their houses and say, nobody's flying over the house because nobody was flying.
Well, true.
And as soon as the flying started, they said, oh, there were planes going all around. Then again,
And to back up, not speaking just from my organization, the task force, which is totally independent and separate from the airport authority. When, as Mike said, the work that went to develop the new noise contours involved a long process with stakeholder meetings, working groups that involved Fairfax planning, Loudon planning. We were part of it, went on for well over a year, I forget how long it was, with different meetings. And all this work developed by the consultants in that resulted in the new contours coming out, which my organization, I've testified a number of times before the Board of Supervisors, using their favorite phrase of follow the science, which they have rejected. I have also argued strongly with Supervisor Smith, who I view as a good friend, about adopting those to prevent situations that happen at Reagan Airport with a problem that you have in Fairfax County to the south and to the north coming in and out of there. Why do we want to create the same situation we have there? And to a point that Michael made earlier about the airlines and United's growth and the vitality of this region is dependent upon good air service. And for United to have the confidence to continue their plans for the decade of Dulles to expand at the rate that they are, they have to be, in their minds, convinced that they have the support of local governments in that will not bring citizens to the table demanding that they limit operations, cut flight times, change flight paths and everything else. We can't tolerate that. And that is a major effort on the part of my group, is to make sure that we have a 24-hour, unrestricted, unlimited airport to serve this community.
so here are some slides from the original contours, which is over here to the left, and the revised contours on the right. These are the 2019 contours. These were broader in general. These are more contoured or narrow. And I worked in a next gen ASCB, whatever it is, ABDSC, whatever it was. And in the old days, if you could imagine, they were following radar. And they would broad pat channels and you'd beam on the radar beam. But now you have a GPS system that they know where the center is. And the planes can fly at the center of that beam rather than in the analog sense of waving around it, which meant that they were more concentrated on the center. So if your house was directly under the center line, you got many more planes than in the old days where they could be 20 degrees out or 5 degrees out or 6 degrees, as long as they were in the contours of the big V and they were moving to the end result, they were happy. But now they can be precise. And if you're in the center, you got a lot more traffic than you did before because they're being smarter. And if they were smart, they'd allow you a deviation and allow you to move half of them 5 degrees to the right, half 5 degrees to the right, and spread over the curve. But they don't do that. They're specific, and they hurt that one house more than the general broad people. But they could program it to say, you don't have to be over that house all the time. You could be 2 degrees to the right and 2 degrees to the right, left, and still get where you need to go. But they didn't do that. So in any case, this is the slide, and here are the 2019 contours, and these are the, what date was that, the 1990s?
I want to say it was 93, I think.
Okay, so this contours is basically 26 years, that one. The one that the county is still using is this 26, well, that should be, it's now 30-year-old contours rather than 7-year-old contours.
With a rather large difference in the type of aircraft operation.
Yeah, the aircraft have changed significantly.
Dramatically. Did you want to have Steve make a comment?
Yeah, so Steve, go ahead.
But before we
Before we leave
move to
this,
Steve, William, did this address the question that you've asked? I'm not sure he's heard me.
yeah, he just went off mute.
Okay.
Yeah,
You had something to say? Go ahead. You went
unmute.
back on mute.
There, am I unmuted now? Can
You're
you hear
unmuted.
me?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah, so that was super helpful. And I want to thank you and encourage the Sully District Council to continue to monitor all of this. When we bought our house here in Franklin Farm in 1993, it was a leap of faith that aircraft noise would not become a problem. And so far, so good. Thank you.
And
Thank you, William.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So these plans for the airport, they look pretty exciting, but I'm guessing I will probably miss most of it because I imagine it's going to take a while to build out. But the other thing my question about Manassas was somewhat answered already, but I was curious whether or not I presume that the transition to commercial traffic over at Manassas won't impact any flight paths at the airport at Dulles. Which way did they go?
Yeah, something happened. I think it's just the two of us.
Well, this happens periodically, but at least this time it's not at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, we'll give it a minute or two and then I guess give up, huh?
Exactly. I always ask those questions that knock us off the air.
Yeah, I have the same issue with these plans. I don't think I'm going to be alive to see many of them come to fruition.
Well, even if I'm alive, I'm not likely to be here, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff does this to me all the time. Well, I guess we're gone.
I would think so.
Okay. Well, until the next meeting,
So long.
I'll see you there. Oh,
Oh, we got Steve back.
We were just
What'd you
signing
do,
off.
Jeff?
Asks, you're gonna ask Steve.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
You didn't hear my question?
No, we did not.
Okay. So I was just saying, I probably won't be around to see these exciting plans at Dulles. I did have a question about Manassas, which was answered earlier, but I was curious, when Manassas does transition to commercial, I presume that the flight paths at Dulles are not likely to, or won't change?
Steve, I hope you are around. I think the airport director for Manassas would be the very, very hopeful that you will be around, because he's looking for commercial air service a lot sooner than maybe you're looking for your own demise. I don't know.
No, I may move, actually.
Dulles is, first of all, air safety and air traffic is exclusively in the purview of the Federal Aviation Administration. And we don't expect Dulles' patterns to be changing because the FAA is considering new commercial service at Manassas. That said, it's all in the FAA's hands.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I appreciate the answer.
Well, I trust you'll be around to see the implementation. So good luck to you, sir.
I hope so. I certainly hope to, I hope to see it at some point.
All right, so any other questions or comments? All right, we only have two people on the video, so I'm glad that William and Steve could join us. There are some other items I'm going to cover on the agenda after this presentation's over, so stay tuned, stay on, and we'll continue doing that. Is there anything else we need Mike for? I thank you for coming. We really appreciate it, Mike,
Nice to see you again.
don't be shy. We'll be back to you in 2 or 3 years and hear what we have to say from that. Mike's a frequent visit. You've been here, what, 4 times, 5 times, what do you think?
I'm going to trust your memory better than mine.
Well, you were here for both land use and your general report. This is the general report. We've had Mike over for land use cases because on land use parcel J of the suburban, Dulles suburban section, the Sully District Council has been the chief naysayer to Sully supervisors' plans to go forward with many of the parcel development that we felt would have a negative impact on the Dulles Airport's ability to operate without complaints. But I believe the rationale for that is if you know where Kathy Smith lives, she lives in Brookfield, south of Brookfield, in the newer subdivision there. If you've ever been to her house, she's under the flight paths. Okay, the ones that go north-south. And she says if she can live under the flight paths, anybody else can as well. Okay, I believe that she's spreading the wealth around. And she says, if I can do it, other people can as well. So I'm gonna let them choose to do so or not to do so.
We're spreading the pain, as it were.
I understand. I didn't want to use the word pain, but I understand. But my point being is where she lives, I was at her house for a function and every 90 seconds, another plane, another plane. So she's fully aware of it sound and believes that people can make their own conscious decision and allows them to do so. And that's all I'm going to say, despite us saying, don't do it. And with that, I'm going to go back to share the, the Firefox and say share again. And I'm going to go escape. And hit escape here. And okay, so I go back to here and this should be the PowerPoint agenda. Okay, there we are. So thank you again, Mike.
Thank you.
So
Thank you all.
I wanted to point out that
Good job.
the state legislature, the Fairfax County Zoning Review, the Community Service Committee of the Fairfax Federation sent the following notice. And they're saying is that citizens associations should be aware of changes. There's state legislation, there's county activities, and she has made implications for community associations and made recommendations what the board should do now. So I've sent this to the Chantilly Highlands Homes Association where I live, and I believe that somebody should make it a matter of record that you've told them, here's the agenda, but it's important that you read this section as opposed to letting it slide. So my recommendation is that people should be aware of this. The other one is we have sent a letter, an email that basically forwarded our resolution of many years ago of Sully District Council, which was against the casino. And we've sent it again to Governor Spanberg, asking her to veto the legislation. So, and they're saying is that she can do three things. She can sign it, veto it, or return it to the General Assembly. If she vetoes it, a veto can only be overridden by 2/3 of each house. If she proposes change, a majority in the House can override. And the recommendation is we want a veto. So again, recommend that individuals and the Franklin Farm Foundation follow up with this action. It's in the agenda. Please see if you can, in addition to somebody in the foundation getting the email, it'd be great for you to point out that there's something in there that you need to do. Okay? And Jim Hart recommends an article on the data centers. And it's talking about the strong demand. And he's talking about this here, a casino update, the sparing over the casino bill. The question is, the casino bill allows the county to have a referendum, and so we go for that. Here's some government center visioning survey. Countywide strategic plan launches new cultural and recreational opportunity dashboard. Bills to allow by House Rep. I've already mentioned this. The Sully Budget Town Hall was held on 4 March. I attended that at the meeting. This year, the budget did not have as much contention as it did in previous years. So they were in one of the conference rooms at Rocky Run Intermediate School. And in past years, that conference might have had 80% of the seats filled. In this case, I would say less than 20% of the seats were filled. And I printed 120 handouts and took them home with me. But in any case, here's a link to the video of the event. Here's a link to the county budget page. Here's a link to the county school budget page. And Kathy Smith, the Sully supervisor, and Seema Dixit, our school board member, were kind enough to allow me to introduce the Sully District Council to the people there to imply and ask them to join. If you're interested in hearing what I have to say, if you click up this, you'll be brought to 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the video where I start to speak. Don't laugh too loud. Okay. And I've got too many M's here for you, Lewis. So I'll have to correct that. You're very grim that day. And we have the Virginia passes yes in God's backyard. And here's the M dash with an extra H. Again, I'm very flexible today.
Consistent.
Consistently inconsistent. Okay. With that, the next Sully meeting is at the Sully Governmental Center. The next one will be held on Wednesday, 22nd of April, where we're going to have the Centerville Area Task Force discussed by Michael Burton and the planner for the county. The next month's joint Sully Land Use and Transportation meeting is scheduled for Monday, the 20th. Because the month starts midweek next month in April, it's one of those strange weeks where the fourth Wednesday and the third Monday are in the same week. So we go have the land use on the 20th and the membership meeting the 22nd. They're both at the Sully Government Center. And we're going to have the Skyview High School returns for a decision. We heard their presentation this month, and we had transportation and other related questions, and we asked them to return. And so they will be returning to see what we can say. And we have a tentative question about air monitoring or air quality planning. This has been asked, Jihan has asked us to do that, and I've reached out to them. It may or may not happen, but we never know what land use transportation issues will be happening. Two other items that are not on here, but are county pieces. One is on the 13th of April, the north-south road in Ruston. Soapstone
Soapstone overpass.
overpass, which is the one between Wheelie and Reston Avenue, will be a public hearing on that, and it's an overpass rather than underpass. And on the 14th of April, they're going to discuss about
The overpass over Dulles Toll.
Yes. And without any interchange, just straight over. On the 14th of April, they're going to discuss Shirley Gate extended from Braddock to the new interchange they're building on the Fairfax Lake Parkway. That happened, but there's always been a plan to extend Shirley Gate directly into the parkway. They're building the overpass and connectivity to the parkway, and now they're going to discuss bringing Shirley Gate south, which will make it easy. So basically, when you're going north on the parkway, you can bear off at Shirley Gate, you can bear off at West Docks as the parkway continues. Decades ago, I told somebody to ensure that when they were coming to visit me in this community, Chantilly Highlands, that they get off at the second West Ox exit, the one north of 66. And I got a call from the guy who was lost. I said, "Where'd you get off?" And he got off at the first West Ox Road, and none of my instructions made sense whatsoever because he was way down there. And it was just very funny that we were on the telephone because it was before, and I said, "All right, explain what you did." And when he did, I said, "I know what you're from. You didn't follow my instructions." He didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying, okay? The second West Docks exit off of the parkway.
Well, he was close to the Costco.
What's that?
He was close to the
Well, he was
Costco.
exactly Costco and Mount Trashmore.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how many people remember dumping at Mount Trashmore?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So I remember going out there with bags and, now living in New York, I had never gone to a landfill before. But, get your.
No, you guys send all your trash down here.
No, we used to send it to Staten Island. We sent it to Staten Island.
I know.
All right.
I came down here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so it was just funny. And then now they have, all those public safety buildings are heated by natural methane.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from all the shit, all the garbage that we threw out. Some of there, and you can go by the transfer station at night and see the venting of the gas going on. All right, with that in mind, I thank everybody for attending. I thank the people from Franklin Farm. I thank the participants who joined us on the phone, on the meeting. We will post this video after I get home and process it, and it'll be in that. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for Franklin Farm for allowing us to have the meeting here. And this is a very successful meeting. You're much more technically competent than Chantilly Highlands is, but it would make sense that you are. All right,
And almost better suited than the Sully District Government Center.
It is, and a little bit better even than the Virginia Run one. Remember? Now, I will have to say that up until the beginning of the mid last decade, Chantilly Highlands was still independently run. We did not have a management firm. I was one of the last treasurers to use QuickBooks and generate our own 1099s and manage it ourselves. When we were the treasurer, I was the treasurer. We had a bookkeeper, but that was it. Now we spend a fifth of our budget on a parasite. I won't go any further than that. Okay?
How do you really feel?
What's that?
How do you really?
Welcome.
Okay, all right, no comment. But other than that, I was president of Vice and treasurer over 6 years, and so I said, we can do it. But I believe now, as in most cases, people are not willing to give the time. There was a comment that we had about the professionalism and the high costs of children's sports. And the rationale for that was because people now expect things to be done and don't have the time to do it. So they have to hire people to manage and do things. Well, in the past, it was citizens volunteers. Do you remember Sheba Pan?
Oh, yes.
So he was head of the Department of Transportation in Fairfax County. And he was on my field maintenance team when we did the Franklin Farm Community Park here, and we laid out our corners. And as I say, I never used the square root of 2 as often as I did laying out soccer fields. Because I had to make sure the fields were perpendicular, and the line between this perpendicular and this perpendicular was in fact the square root of 2. And if it wasn't, I was off. And I'm a math major. How often do I use the square root of 2?
Only when you're doing soccer field.
That's it. Just like when I was building a banister for my wife on the staircase, and I knew I needed this rise, I had to use the arc something or other to get the, again, oh my God. All right, in any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending. We thank you all. Notice that he wore his Department of Transportation vest.
I noticed.
Okay? You have to be aware of those things. That's a slight comment about, hey, I'm a specialist. I know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
I think there should be a hostile takeover of this campaign.
Oh, no. Our bylaws are such that people have spent days, weeks, years trying to figure, how can we bring them into conformance to, and we need, 2/3 of the people who actually vote.
Yeah.
And we'll go there. Okay, so I'm going to stop the meeting.
Maybe work a deal and bring you into Franklin.
We're off record.
I'm going to leave the meeting. Exit meeting.